Y'all, I don't know what took me longer to get through this episode or season 11 of American Horror Story NYC. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel review where we talk about all things television and film from today and yesteryear. So, I just wanted to come on here and do a very quick recap of the last episode of Grotesquerie. Let's get to it. So the episode starts off with Lois leaving the motel, I assume, because she popped old boy or whatnot. And I think she is just having a hard time dealing with reality at this point because so much is just happening and she's just pretty much trying to get her thoughts together. So Lois gets home, she walks in the house and she all see all these candles lit, the lights are dim or whatever. And baby Marshall is sitting at the table and Red is in the kitchen cooking. So, Lois is looking around like, what are y'all doing here? What is going on? And, she sits down. Marsha slides her over a drink. He being real nice to her. And basically, he and Red have come up with a plan for all three of them to start living together. And Lois is like, who, me? I don't think so. She was like, you just told me, Marshall, that you hated me. And he was like, well, I didn't mean that. I was just, saying things in a moment. And she's just like, what is this? She said, what y'all trying to be a throuple? And she was like, I don't think so. And it was like, no, Red was like, no, we can sleep in the guest room, nothing like that. We just feel like, none of us are getting any younger, and it would be so good for all of us to be under one roof. Like, why would she want to do that? She just told y'all she's trying to leave town, be in her own solitude, like by herself. Why would y'all think that she all of a sudden would change her mind because y'all want to proposition her with y'all moving in her house? Like, I don't think so. And the fact that Marshall felt emboldened enough to even bring this to her, I'm like, sir, no, you got what you want. You wanted your freedom. You wanted your divorce. I am giving that to you. Now, all of a sudden, you want to be back up in my space? Absolutely not. So on their way home, Red basically tells Marshall, she was like, I know you've been cheating on me. She's like, if you didn't want to be with me, why are you doing all this? Like, if you want to be out there in them streets laid up with everybody else, baby, then do that. Leave me alone. And, Marshall, he is basically explaining himself to her. And she told him, she's like, I want you gone by the end of the week. She's like, we are done. And I'm like, dang, like, girl, you finally got him off the leash. Now that he's a free man, she's like, no, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. And of course, we saw that last week when she basically was like, I don't know what to do with him full time. So she lets Marshall know that he needs to leave. She wants him out of her house, and that he has until the end of the week to pack his bags and get up out of there. And so here we have Marshall at work, he's lecturing to his students or whatever. And while he's lecturing to his students, Detective TMZ and the other lady end up walking in. And so here we have Marshall, one of his students, she's skinning and grinning at him, honey, and he get her that look. I was like, okay, yeah, so this the girl that Red probably was talking about in the car. And so Detective TMZ and old girl, they basically let Marshall know that he has been accused of assault. And he was like, what you mean? And they tell him that the young lady who was basically skinning and grinning in his face accused him of assault. And he was like, no, we had a relationship and we decided to end the affair on mutual terms. So he started reading out the text messages and all this stuff that he and the girl had between each other, her basically seemingly okay with them ending, their affair, but she still obviously has some type of feelings or whatnot for him. And Detective TMZ was like, you're gonna have to explain this, but I have to believe the woman, so we're gonna have to take you down and book you. And this is him at the police station in his mugshot. And so we have Marshall, honey, he basically writing out his will and testament, child, because he feel like his life is coming to an end. Red and told him he had to get up out the house. The girl that he done had an affair with is accusing him of assault, so he basically decides to swallow a bottle of pills. And so Marshall's attempt to go be with the Grim Reaper does not work. Red goes to see him in the hospital. She was like, I found you. I brought you here. You gonna make it, but I still want you at my house. She was like, ain't nothing changed, sir. She's like, this little cry for help, it's not working for me. She said, I still want you out of my house. So Marshall also gets a visit from his daughter, Meredith, and Meredith is like, Dad, you're the only parent that I really have. We're not going out like this. Like, this is not going to be acceptable. You need to figure it out. Whatever you're going through, you need to figure it out and work through it because I'm not about to lose you. So after Marshall gets out of the hospital, he's at home or whatever. He gets a text message from Ed. So he and Ed are basically, they're having conversations, Ed basically lets Marshall know, that he's a different person now. He was like, I've been getting some help. And, Marshall looking at him, he was like, what happened to the mullet? And Ed was like, that's a part of my transformation. I'm just trying to change who I am. And, he basically lets Marshall know that he wants to take him somewhere. So Marshall ends up in this meeting with Ed, and it's like a support group for men where they can go and vent about just things that they are dealing with in society, in the world. Marshall, he ends up, mentioning the fact that he's facing an assault charge from a woman that he had a mutual affair with, you know what I'm saying? And just how it's always believe women, and what about the man, what about the truth, and things like that. So I guess this is just where these men can go lay their burdens down and complain about things that they're dealing with each other, because ultimately Ed basically says to Marshall something to the effect of, welcome to the brotherhood. So I guess he's going to become a member of this group. So Lois is back at the hospital. She is basically having a hard time dealing with reality. And she lets the doctor know, she was like, something is not right, something is off. She was like, I feel like I'm still in a coma. She said, there is no way that the things that I am dealing with right now are real. And he told her that a person who has been in her situation does have a hard time, you know, being able to adjust back into normalcy. And she was like, no, that ain't it. And then she starts going into all these things that she has been experiencing. And so here we have Lois letting Dr. Charlie know that she recalls when she was in a coma that he was having orgies in her room. And he's like, are you kidding me? He was like, I would never do anything like that. She's like, yes, you did. I remember, I remember hearing you and the women and things like that. And he was like, that's not something I would ever do. And he's like, ma'am, I saved your life, and this is how you gonna play me? Like, she don't owe him anything, but he was just like, absolutely not. You are out of order with the things that you're accusing me of. And he was like, he was getting upset actually, and he was just basically trying to keep together. But these are just some of the flashbacks that she said that she recalls having when she was in a coma. And so she also goes on to tell the doctor about the situation. She was like, I murked somebody. She was like, and she said after I did, she said I left because I was panicking and I was just trying to figure out what I needed to do. And she was like, but when I went back to the motel, he was gone. She was like, everything was cleaned up. It was as if nothing happened. And she was like, so how are you telling me that I am not living in reality? She's like, I must still be in my coma. There's no way that I'm still awake, and I've done all these things and I recall all these things. And the doctor is still letting her know that she is basically, he's making it seem like she's having hallucinations or something. And he was like, it's just a part of the after effects from her being in a coma for so long. And she was like, no, that's not it. And she said, even um after I went back to the motel, she was like, Detective TMZ was nowhere on site. And basically, that was the person she took the dude out for. So she tells the doctor about how she ended up following her. She ended up following Detective TMZ, and she was like, she saw her talking to Glorious. And, she didn't say exactly what Glorious was at this time, but we know who Glorious was from the past episode. So she saw her talking to her, and she was like, she ended up going back to the station where, Detective TMZ works, and she basically confronted her. She was like, look, I went back to the motel. I took old boy out for you, and you gonna clean his body up. And I saw you talking to Glorious, and I already know what type of work she does. I know how she get down. And basically, um, Detective TMZ, she looks at Lois and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, how you basically gonna sit up here and tell me you don't know what I'm talking about when you was getting your behind beat by old boy, and I took him out and you clean up my mess. I go back to try to take care of things, and she was like, he's gone. Everything is as if nothing even happened. And Detective TMZ is just basically making it seem like Lois is out of her mind. She is making it seem like that person never existed. She even tells her, she's like, I haven't talked to him in weeks. She is making it seem like Lois is delusional. And so even after, she tells the doctor all these things, he is still basically letting Lois know that she is definitely in reality. She is no longer in a coma. The things that she's experiencing could possibly, potentially be hallucinations, because she does mention to him the whole Last Supper with the family. And he was like, I didn't hear about anything in reference to that in the news, about a family, he said that would have been all over the place. And she was like, no. She's like, it was a different family. They were all sitting at the table. They were all basically bound and gagged. She told me about the pot on the stove, all those things that she basically assumed she dreamt about when she was in a coma. And she was like, it's almost like it's a copycat person out there. And she asked him, she was like, who all knows about my dreams? And he was like, hundreds of people, we were doing a study on you, things of that nature. And so she is just basically trying to piece the puzzle together, because she was like, what is going on? The fact that everything she thought about or dreamt about when she was in the coma is coming to fruition, just different people, same scenarios, different people. But the doctor is basically telling her, hey, you know it's just basically the after effects of her being in a coma. So later on, after Lois goes into her room, she's in a room with padded walls and everything, honey. So I guess she is in the psych ward of the hospital. Detective TMZ comes in, crawls on her lap, and just starts crying. And she apologizes to her. She's like, I'm sorry. I lied to you about, what happened at the motel. She was just like, it's just so much going on. And she didn't want to overwhelm her. So basically, Lois now knows that she is not losing her mind. So, honey, here we have Detective TMZ basically letting Lois know that she needs her assistance on a situation that has happened. She was like, it's pretty big. She's like, I really just need you to help me. She said, this is just a really bad situation. She said, it's a lot of people that we both know, and I just need you to come, look at things. And she's like, I'm sorry to bring this on you when you're dealing with your mental health. I know you're going through things, just like, but I really need your help. So Lois ends up showing up to the crime scene, and honey, what she saw was baffling. So here we are again with another reference of the Last Supper. Same scenario, different people. Father Charlie, aka Dr. Charlie, is laid out on the cross, baby. He is out of here, okay? And you got the rest of these people who are homeless or unhoused, as Detective TMZ called them. And also, we have the young lady who accused Marshall of assault. And when Lois looks at her, because Lois said, I don't recognize her, who is she? And Detective TMZ lets her know that this is the young lady who accused Marshall of assault. And so Lois is basically like, okay, what is going on here? At this point, everything that she so-called dreamed while she was in a coma is basically coming to pass. And so Lois basically stands up and she says to the team, she was like, look, I need y'all to collect all the evidence. Don't leave no stone unturned. Bring it back to my office. And he was like, oh, you going back? And she was like, yeah. She's like, because clearly this is something certain people ain't going to be able to handle by themselves. And, Detective Timothy was like, girl, don't play with me. And Lois was like, but did I lie? Like, no, I'm coming back. I'm going to take care of this. And also because of the fact that she was in a coma, and everything that we are seeing, again, same scenario, different people, she is going to know how to, I guess, deal with everything that may take place. But now it's just like, who is the person that is committing these crimes? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what they are doing or where they are going to go. I assume this show is going to get a season 2 if this is the last episode, which I believe is the last episode. But if they're going to get a season 2, maybe we will get a actual explanation as to what is happening, because what it's giving right now is if Lois was actually in a coma and all of her dreams and things were being written down, because they were doing the little neuroscience studying or whatever, then someone is definitely mimicking the things that she allegedly dreamed about. So I would assume that if there is a season 2, we will see all of that unfold, and who is the person that is actually responsible for all of these gruesome unalivings. And also, I peeped when they were in that man's meeting, when Marshall and Ed were in that meeting with those men, that, the guy in the wheelchair, he was one of the doctors that ended up talking to Lois, in the episode last week with her original doctor. So, y'all, what if it turns out that the men are the ones committing these crimes because they got the information from the doctor that is, in the wheelchair? I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm trying to make it make sense because right now it does not, but we shall see. Okay. Well, that's all I have for you guys today in this video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.